sky. In a quiet town nestled between the hills and the sea, lived a young woman named Alara. She ran a small bookshop inherited from her grandmother, tucked between a bakery and an old clockmaker's shop. The air always smelled of bread and lavender, and the streets shimmered with lanterns every evening, creating a golden glow that wrapped the town in timeless magic. Alara had grown used to her quiet routine, waking up at dawn, arranging books, helping customers, and reading beneath the shop's wide bay window. She loved stories, especially those about love that crossed time and distance, but never thought one would find her. That changed one autumn evening when a stranger walked into the shop. His name was Cale, a travel photographer who had come to the town to capture its famous Lantern Festival. He was tall, soft-spoken, with eyes that seemed to carry the colors of every sunset he'd ever seen. Cale asked for a book about the town's history, and Alara, intrigued, led him to a dusty old shelf. They talked for hours about books, places they dreamed of visiting, and the stories behind photographs and poems. He came back the next day, and the next. Soon, his visits became part of her routine, like the scent of fresh bread or the warmth of the morning sun. Over the following weeks, their bond deepened. Alara found herself laughing more, noticing the way Cale would brush his hair back when he was focused, or how he always bought 2 pastries, one for himself, one he said was just in case someone forgot breakfast. She never told him she always did. As the Lantern Festival approached, Cale asked her to join him on the night he planned to photograph it from the old bell tower overlooking the town. She hesitated at first, he would be leaving soon after, but something in her heart told her to say yes. That night, under thousands of glowing lanterns floating into the star-filled sky, Cale turned to Alara. "Do you ever think about writing your own story?" he asked. "I think I'm already living one," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the music and laughter below. Cale smiled. "Then let me be part of the next chapter." They kissed beneath the lantern sky, their silhouettes framed by golden light and the promise of something lasting. Months passed. Cale left to finish his work, but he returned, again and again. Eventually, he stayed. He turned one of the old storage rooms in the bookshop into a dark room for his photographs, while Alara began writing her first novel, inspired by their story. Years later, the bookshop was still there. So were they, older, but still in love. Every autumn, during the Lantern Festival, Cale and Alara would sit by the window, hands entwined, watching the lights rise into the sky like 1,000 dreams finally taking flight. The Letters from Verona. In the sun-drenched town of Verona, Italy, a place that had long carried the whispers of Shakespeare's tragic lovers, lived a young woman named Elena Ricci. She was a writer, quiet and observant, who spent most of her days working in a small bookshop inherited from her grandfather. The shop sat at the corner of Via Mazzini, nestled between a flower stall and a bakery that always smelled like heaven. Elena lived a peaceful life, one surrounded by the dusty smell of old pages and the occasional visitor asking for a love story recommendation. But deep inside, she longed for a love of her own, something real and lasting, something that wouldn't just end like the books she shelved each day. One rainy afternoon, while reorganizing a forgotten shelf in the back of the shop, she stumbled upon an old, weathered envelope sealed with red wax. Curiosity led her to open it, and inside she found a letter dated July 14, 1944. It was written by a man named Luca Moretti, a soldier during World War II, to a woman named Isabella. The letter was tender, filled with longing, and spoke of dreams they had shared before the war. Moved by the beauty of his words, Elena decided to investigate. Over the following weeks, she searched through local archives, spoke to elderly residents, and visited war memorials. Piece by piece, the story of Luca and Isabella unfolded, a love interrupted by war, a promise never fulfilled. But the last letter she found hinted at something unfinished. Luca had returned to Verona after the war, hoping to find Isabella, but she had disappeared. His letters became more desperate, more broken. The final note simply read, "I will wait by the fountain every July 14th. I'll wait, even if it takes forever." Elena's heart ached for them. Driven by both heartbreak and hope, she went to the fountain on the next July 14th. To her surprise, a man stood there. He was older, in his 80s, with a kind face and a cane. It was Luca, still waiting. Elena approached him gently and told him who she was and what she had discovered. Tears welled in the old man's eyes. "She never came," he whispered, "but I never stopped hoping." Elena reached into her bag and pulled out all the letters she had found. She gave them to him, her eyes shimmering with emotion. That day, something shifted between them. Though strangers, they were connected by a story of love that had traveled through time. Over the next year, Elena helped Luca write his memoirs. Through it, they became close friends. In his stories, she found not only history, but inspiration. And in her kindness, Luca found peace. After Luca passed away the following spring, Elena was heartbroken. But he had left her one final letter, sealed in red wax like the first. "Elena," it read, "I never found my Isabella, but I believe fate brought me someone just as precious. You gave my story its ending. Now it's time for you to find yours. Love will come, and when it does, don't hesitate." Months later, while hosting a book reading for Luca's published memoir, a man named Daniel approached Elena. He was a historian from London, captivated by Luca's story, and even more so by Elena's passion for it. They talked, laughed, and found comfort in one another's presence. As seasons passed, so did moments, until one evening, under the soft glow of the same Verona fountain, Daniel held Elena's hand and said, "Let's not wait a lifetime." And she didn't.